Jake Morrison wiped the sweat from his forehead as he looked out through the thick glass dome of New Haven Colony. The ice fields of Europa stretched endlessly in all directions, glowing pale blue under Jupiter's distant light. He had been running this mining operation for 3 years now, and it still amazed him how far humanity had come. 2,400 people lived and worked here, making it the largest human settlement beyond Mars. His wife Lisa walked up behind him, carrying 2 cups of coffee. Their twin daughters, both 8 years old, were playing with building blocks nearby. The girls had been born here on Europa, making them true children of space. Jake often wondered what kind of future they would have among the stars. Another good day in the mines, Lisa said, handing him the coffee. The crews pulled up twice as much ice as yesterday. At this rate, we'll meet our quotas 2 months early. Jake nodded and took a sip. The coffee was real, shipped from Earth at great expense. Small luxuries like this made life bearable so far from home. He was about to reply when his radio crackled. To life. Mr. Morrison, you need to get to the communications center right away, came the excited voice of Ben Taylor, their communications officer. We're picking up something incredible on the deep space scanners. Jake and Lisa exchanged glances. Deep space contacts were rare this far out. Usually it meant a supply ship from Earth, but none were scheduled for another month. Jake kissed Lisa on the cheek and headed for the door. Keep the girls inside until I know what's going on, he told her. The communications center buzzed with activity when Jake arrived. Ben Taylor stood at the main console, his face pale with excitement and fear. Dr. Amanda Clark, the colony's scientist, was studying readouts on a nearby screen. What do we have? Jake asked. Ben pointed to the scanner. Display. Multiple contacts, sir. Big ones. They appeared about an hour ago, just outside Europa's orbit. They're not showing up on any of our identification systems. Jake felt his heart skip a beat. Unknown contacts could mean only one thing. Are you saying these aren't human ships? Dr. Clark turned around, her eyes wide. Jake, these vessels are massive. Each one is at least 5 times larger than our biggest cargo haulers. And the energy signatures, they're unlike anything we've ever seen. For a moment, nobody spoke. Humanity had been searching for signs of alien life for centuries. They had found bacteria on Mars and simple organisms in the ice of Europa, but never anything intelligent. Never anything that could build starships. Have they tried to communicate? Jake asked. Not yet, Ben replied. But we've been broadcasting standard first contact protocols for the last 30 minutes. Mathematical sequences, prime numbers, that sort of thing. So far, no response. Jake made a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his short life. Keep trying. Use every language we have in our database. Broadcast on all frequencies. This is the most important moment in human history. Word spread quickly through the colony. Within an hour, everyone knew about the alien ships. People gathered in the common areas talking in hushed voices. Children pressed their faces against windows, trying to see the mysterious visitors. Some colonists were afraid, but most were excited. This was first contact. This was humanity's introduction to the greater universe. Dr. Clark worked frantically to analyze the alien ships. They're scanning us, she reported to Jake. Very thorough scans. They're mapping our entire facility, right down to individual rooms and corridors. That's good, right? Jake asked. It means they're curious about us. They want to learn. Amanda nodded, though she looked worried. The scans are incredibly detailed, more advanced than anything we could produce. These beings are far ahead of us technologically. Ben suddenly sat up straight in his console. I'm getting something. They're responding. Everyone in the communications center held their breath. The speakers crackled with static, then filled with sounds unlike anything they had ever heard. It wasn't quite music and wasn't quite speech. but it was clearly artificial, clearly intelligent. "My God," whispered Dr. Clark. "We're actually talking to aliens." Jake felt tears in his eyes. This was the moment that would change everything. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe. He grabbed the microphone. "This is Jake Morrison, administrator of New Haven Colony. We welcome you in peace. We are humans from the planet Earth. We come in friendship and hope to learn from you." The alien sounds continued for several minutes, then stopped. The silence that followed seemed to last forever. Jake was about to speak again when Ben shouted, "A warning! Energy spike!" Massive energy spike from the lead ship. Before anyone could react, the world exploded in white light. The communication center's windows shattered inward, and Jake felt himself thrown against the far wall. When his vision cleared, he saw fire spreading through the colony's main dome. Emergency alarms were screaming, and people were running in panic. What happened? Jake gasped, pulling himself to his feet. Dr. Clark was bleeding from a cut on her forehead, but she was still checking her instruments. "They fired on us," she said in disbelief. "They actually fired on us." The alien ships had opened fire without warning. Their weapons were beyond anything humans had imagined. Beams of pure energy sliced through the colony's protective domes, like they were made of paper. The residential sections took the first hits, vaporizing entire apartment blocks in seconds. Jake ran for the emergency controls, but another blast shook the entire facility. Through the broken windows, he could see the mining platforms exploding one by one. The aliens weren't just attacking randomly. They were being systematic, destroying everything humans had built. "The children's school," Lisa's voice came over, his radio filled with terror. "Jake, they hit the children's school." Jake felt something break inside his chest. His own daughters were supposed to be safe at home, but dozens of other children had been in that school. Good children, whose only crime was being human. "All hands, this is Morrison," he broadcast on the colony-wide channel. "Evacuate immediately. Get to the emergency shelters and the landing bay. This is not a drill." But even as he spoke, he watched the emergency shelters disappear in brilliant flashes of light. The aliens were targeting them specifically. They knew exactly where humans would run for safety, and they were killing them there. Ben Taylor was still at his post, trying desperately to maintain communications with Earth. "The transmitter array is damaged, but I think I can get through," he said. "Do it," Jake ordered. "Earth has to know what happened here." As Ben worked, Jake watched his world die. The aliens showed no mercy. They destroyed the medical center where Dr. Susan Wells was treating injured miners. They vaporized the recreation center where families had been gathering for safety. They seemed to take particular care to target anywhere humans might survive. "I've got a connection to Earth," Ben shouted. "It's weak, but it's there." Jake grabbed the microphone with hands that shook with rage and grief. "Earth Command, this is New Haven Colony. We are under attack by unknown alien forces. They came in peace. We welcome them. They're killing everyone. There are no survivors in the residential areas. They're hunting us systematically." The transmission crackled with static, but Jake continued. "Warn Earth, these beings are not peaceful. They're not explorers. They're killers. They want us dead. All of us, humanity, must survive. Remember us. Remember what they did here. Make them pay." The communications array exploded in a shower of sparks and flame. Jake and Ben were thrown to the floor as the ceiling collapsed around them. When Jake opened his eyes, he was alone. Ben was gone, buried under tons of twisted metal. Jake crawled through the wreckage toward the landing bay, where a few cargo ships might still be intact. Behind him, New Haven Colony burned like a funeral pyre. Above him, the alien ships continued their work with cold efficiency. They were not angry. They were not cruel. They were simply ending human life as if it meant nothing at all. That was the moment Jake Morrison understood the truth. This wasn't war. This wasn't conquest. This was extermination. The aliens had decided that humanity should not exist, and they had the power to make that decision final. As he reached the landing bay, Jake found 16 other survivors huddled around a damaged cargo hauler. Among them were Pete Collins, an engineer, and Mary Evans, a teacher whose eyes held the emptiness of someone who had watched her students die. "Can this thing fly?" Jake asked Pete. Pete nodded grimly. "For a while. Long enough to reach Earth, maybe." As they lifted off from the dying colony, Jake looked back one last time. The aliens had won. They had murdered 2,400 innocent people in less than 2 hours, but they had made one mistake. They had let 17 humans escape. 17 witnesses who would carry the truth back to Earth. Jake Morrison died 3 weeks later when the cargo hauler's life support finally failed, just hours before reaching Earth, but his final message had already been received. Humanity now knew that they were not alone in the universe, and that their new neighbors wanted them dead. The damaged cargo hauler drifted through space like a broken bird. Its hull was cracked in a dozen places, and the life support systems wheezed with every breath the survivors took. Pete Collins had worked miracles to keep the ship flying for 3 weeks, but everyone knew they were living on borrowed time. Mary Evans sat in the corner, staring at nothing. She had not spoken since they left Europa. The images of her students being vaporized played over and over in her mind. 8-year-old Tommy asking about the pretty lights outside. 6-year-old Sarah showing her a drawing of Earth. All gone in a flash of alien fire. "There it is," Pete said quietly. "Home." Through the cracked viewport, Earth appeared like a blue jewel against the black of space. The survivors pressed forward to see their world, some crying, others too shocked for tears. They had made it. Somehow they had made it home. The emergency docking at Luna Station was chaos. Medical teams rushed aboard the cargo hauler while military officers secured the area. The 17 survivors were the first humans to witness an alien attack and live. Every word they spoke would shape humanity's future. Captain Rick Carter was the first military officer to interview the survivors. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had spent 30 years in Earth's small space navy, mostly chasing pirates and escorting cargo ships. Nothing had prepared him for this. "Tell me exactly what happened," he said to Pete Collins in the medical bay. Pete's hands shook as he spoke. "They came out of nowhere. Huge ships, bigger than anything we've ever built. We tried to talk to them. We sent friendship messages in every language we knew. They scanned our entire colony, every room, every person. And then they started killing us." Pete's voice broke. "Not soldiers. Not military targets. Children, Captain. They specifically targeted the school first. Then the hospital. Then the emergency shelters where families were hiding. They knew exactly where to hit to cause the most death." Captain Carter wrote everything down, but his hands were steady. He was a military man. He understood what this meant. Did they try to communicate at all? Any demands or warnings? Mary Evans finally spoke, her voice like broken glass. "They never said a word to us. Not one word. They just started shooting." The news reached Earth within hours. President Helen Rodriguez called an emergency session of the United Earth Council. Representatives from every nation gathered in New York as the survivors' testimonies were broadcast to the world. Billions of people watched in horror as they learned that humanity's first contact with alien life had ended in massacre. Dr. Kevin Wright, Earth's leading military analyst, studied the recorded footage from Europa. The alien weapons were beyond anything humans had imagined. Energy beams that could slice through reinforced steel like paper. Ships that moved without visible engines. Technology that made Earth's best weapons look like stone axes. "How many of them are there?" President Rodriguez asked during the emergency briefing. "Unknown," Dr. Wright replied. But based on the ship sizes and energy outputs, we estimate each vessel could carry between 500 and 2,000 beings. The attack force had 7 ships. General Lisa Park, commander of Earth's ground forces, slammed her fist on the table. It doesn't matter how many there are. They murdered our people. Men, women, children who never hurt anyone. They came to our territory and committed genocide. Admiral Carter, Pete's brother who commanded the Space Navy, shook his head. General, we have 47 military ships in our entire fleet. Most of them are patrol boats and cargo escorts. These aliens have technology centuries ahead of ours. Are you suggesting we surrender? General Park asked, her voice dangerous. I'm suggesting we prepare for defense. Build shelters, create evacuation plans, maybe try to negotiate. Negotiate? Mary Evans had been brought to the council meeting as a witness. Her voice cut through the room like a knife. You want to negotiate with creatures that vaporized a classroom full of 8-year-olds? They didn't want to conquer us, Admiral. They wanted us dead, all of us. The room fell silent. President Rodriguez looked at each face around the table. These were humanity's leaders, and they were scared. Earth had never faced an enemy like this. Pirates could be reasoned with. Terrorists had demands. These aliens had shown no interest in anything except killing humans. What are options? The president asked. Dr. Wright cleared his throat. We have industrial capacity. Our manufacturing base is larger than it's ever been. We have skilled workers, raw materials from the asteroid belt, and a population of 8 billion people. What we don't have is time or advanced technology. How much time? General Park asked. Based on their ship's maximum speed, if they left Europa immediately after the attack, they could reach Earth in 18 months. Maybe less if they have faster ships. 18 months to prepare for a war against an enemy that could destroy cities in minutes. The weight of it settled on everyone in the room. Humanity had been exploring space for 50 years, building colonies and mining asteroids. They had never thought they would need to become warriors. President Rodriguez stood up. I'm calling for a global vote. Every nation, every leader, every person who can make a choice. Do we hide and hope they ignore us? Do we try to run to other star systems? Or do we stand and fight for our world? The vote took 3 days. When it was finished, the result was overwhelming. 96% of humanity chose to fight. They would not run from their home. They would not hide like frightened animals. If the aliens wanted to exterminate humanity, they would have to earn it. General Park's speech to the combined military leaders became famous across Earth. She stood before cameras broadcasting to every nation. Her uniform crisp, her voice steady. They chose to make this a war of extinction, she said. They looked at our children playing in schools and decided those children should die. They saw our doctors helping the sick and decided those healers should burn. They wanted to see what humans do when cornered and threatened with extinction. Let's show them. The transformation began immediately. Every weapon factory on Earth switched to military production. Car plants started building tank parts. Electronics companies began working on military communications. The asteroid mining ships were recalled to be converted into warships. Tony Rodriguez had been building cars in Detroit. Now he found himself welding armor plates for battle cruisers. He worked 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. Everyone did. There was no time for anything else. Dr. Grace, Kim had been studying plant genetics at Stanford University. Now she led a team trying to reverse engineer alien technology from the wreckage at Europa. Every fragment of alien metal, every piece of their energy weapons, was studied and tested. Humanity needed to understand their enemy's technology if they hoped to survive. Schools changed their curricula overnight. Children learned mathematics by calculating missile trajectories. They studied chemistry by understanding explosives. Even 6-year-olds knew that their world was preparing for war. The news from space was grim. Long-range sensors detected the alien fleet moving through the outer solar system. Not 7 ships this time, but 47. They were coming back with reinforcements. Just as the survivors had warned, President Rodriguez addressed the world, one final time before the communication blackouts began. We have 18 months to become something we never wanted to be. 18 months to transform from explorers into warriors. Our children deserve a future. Our species deserves to survive. Whatever the cost, we will pay it. In factories across Earth, humans worked around the clock. In laboratories, scientists pushed the boundaries of physics. In training camps, ordinary people learned to become soldiers. The blue planet that had once dreamed of peaceful contact with alien civilizations now prepared for total war. The aliens had made one crucial mistake at Europa. They had assumed that humans would simply accept death when it came for them. They had never encountered a species that would sacrifice everything, transform everything, become anything necessary to survive. Humanity was about to teach them that some species fight back. And when humans fight for survival, they don't just fight to win. They fight to make sure the threat never comes back. Above Earth, the first prototype warships began their test flights. They were crude compared to alien technology, but they carried something the aliens had never seen before. They carried the fury of a species that refused to die quietly. The 18-month countdown had begun. The Amazon rainforest was gone. Where ancient trees had stood for thousands of years, massive mining machines now stripped the earth bare. The rare metals buried deep in the ground were more valuable than gold now. Every gram of lithium, every ounce of titanium, every trace of rare earth elements went straight to the weapons factories. Samantha Lewis had been a nurse in Snow Paulo before the war came. Now she worked 18-hour shifts in Factory Complex 7, assembling guidance systems for missiles. Her hands moved without thinking, connecting wires and checking circuits. Around her, 10,000 other workers did the same job. The factory never stopped. It couldn't stop. "How many did we finish today?" asked Danny Foster, wiping grease from his hands. He had been a car mechanic before. Now he built targeting computers for plasma cannons. 1,500 units, Samantha replied, same as yesterday, same as the day before. That was the rhythm of Earth now. Every day, exactly 1,500 guidance systems from Factory 7, 3,000 missile warheads from Factory 12, 800 armor plates from Factory 21. The numbers were everything. Each number meant one more chance for humanity to survive. Dr. Nicole Hayes worked in Laboratory Complex 3, deep under the Rocky Mountains. She had been studying ocean currents before the Europa massacre. Now she spent her days trying to understand alien technology. The wreckage from the colony had been shipped to Earth in secret, every fragment precious beyond measure. "The metal is incredible," she told her team. "It's stronger than our best steel, but weighs half as much. The energy conductors are made from elements we've never seen before." Her assistant, Dr. Paul Kim, held up a piece of alien hull plating. "If we could learn to make this, our ships would be 10 times more durable. The energy weapons are the real prize," said Dr. Bobby Chun from across the lab. "Look at these power cells. They store more energy than our best fusion reactors, but they're the size of a briefcase." Nicole nodded. "The aliens have had centuries to develop this technology. We have 18 months to catch up. It's impossible. Then we'll do the impossible." Paul said, "We don't have a choice." That was the motto of every laboratory on Earth: do the impossible. Humanity's scientists worked miracles every day because the alternative was extinction. They reverse-engineered alien materials, rebuilt alien circuits, and slowly began to understand how their enemies' weapons worked. The first breakthrough came on a Tuesday morning in March. Dr. Ryan Clark's team in Berlin had been studying alien energy weapon fragments for 6 months. They had built dozens of prototypes, all of them failures. Then Dr. Clark made a small change to the power coupling system. The test chamber filled with brilliant blue light. When the light faded, the target dummy had been completely vaporized. Not burned, not melted, but gone. The humans had built their first plasma cannon. "My God," whispered Dr. Clark. "It actually works." Within a week, every major factory on Earth had the plans. Within a month, human plasma cannons were rolling off production lines. They were crude compared to alien weapons, but they worked. For the first time since Europa, humanity had a weapon that could hurt their enemies. The space program changed completely. Captain Alex Turner had been commanding cargo runs to Mars before the war. Now he stood on the bridge of the UE's Vengeance, humanity's first real warship. The ship was ugly, built from converted mining equipment and cargo haulers, but it carried 12 plasma cannons and armor plating made from reverse-engineered alien materials. "How does she handle?" asked Admiral Carter during the ship's first test flight. "Like a freight train with rockets," Captain Turner replied. "She's not fast and she's not pretty, but she fight." That was enough. Pretty ships were for peacetime. Fighting ships were for survival. Maria Santos had been flying cargo ships between Earth and the asteroid belt for 10 years. Now she commanded a squadron of converted freighters, each one armed with human-built weapons. Her ships weren't designed for combat, but they were tough and reliable. More importantly, they were crewed by people who understood that failure meant the death of everyone they loved. "Formation training again today," she told her pilots over the radio. "Remember, we're not trying to dance with these alien ships. We're trying to ram plasma bolts down their throats." The training was harsh but necessary. Human pilots had to learn to fight an enemy with superior technology. They couldn't outrun alien ships or outmaneuver them. They had to be smarter, more desperate, and more willing to die for victory. On Earth, the changes went deeper than factories and weapons. Children as young as 12 began military training. Casey Brown was 16 when she volunteered for the Youth Defense Corps. Her parents had died in a factory accident, and she had nowhere else to go. The military became her family. "Why are we learning this?" asked another recruit during weapons training. "Because the war won't end when the aliens reach Earth," Casey replied. "It'll end when every last one of them is dead, or when we are. There's no middle ground." The instructor, Sergeant Nina Foster, nodded approvingly. "That's right. This isn't about winning battles. This is about making sure humanity has a future. Every one of you might have to fight someday. Every one of you might have to die for the species." The children accepted this without complaint. They had grown up knowing that aliens wanted to kill them. Fear was normal. Fighting back was natural. Education changed to match the new reality. Mathematics meant calculating missile trajectories and orbital mechanics. Chemistry meant understanding explosives and fuel systems. Biology meant knowing how to treat battlefield wounds. Every subject served the war effort. College students like Emma Davis studied advanced engineering and military tactics. She designed better armor plating in the morning and practiced combat maneuvers in the afternoon. Her generation would never know peacetime, but they would know how to survive. The planet's entire economy shifted to support the war. Farmers grew food to feed factory workers. Miners dug metals to build weapons. Doctors treated injuries from industrial accidents. Everyone had a role, and everyone understood the stakes. International borders became meaningless. A factory in Japan used materials from Brazil to build components designed in Germany. Russian engineers worked alongside American scientists. African miners sent rare earth elements to European weapons plants. Humanity had become one nation with one purpose. The alien technology slowly yielded its secrets. Human scientists learned to make stronger armor, more powerful weapons, and better engines. Each breakthrough was copied and shared instantly across the globe. There was no time for patents or trade secrets. Every advance belonged to the species. By month 12, Earth's orbital shipyards were launching a new warship every week. The ships were still inferior to alien technology, but they were human. They carried the fury of a species that refused to accept extinction quietly. Ground forces trained for the worst-case scenario. If the aliens landed on Earth, every human would become a soldier. Cities were fortified, weapons were hidden in schools and hospitals, and civilians learned to make bombs from household chemicals. General Lisa Park inspected the defenses around New York City. "If they want our world, they'll have to take it block by block," she told the defenders. "Make them pay for every street, every building, every life." The transformation was complete. Earth had become a fortress world, its entire population dedicated to war. The blue planet that had once sent peaceful messages to the stars now bristled with weapons and burned with the desire for revenge. Above the planet, early warning satellites scanned the darkness for approaching alien ships. The 18 months were almost over. Soon, humanity would discover if their impossible transformation had been enough. In the deepest bunkers, human children learned to hate an enemy they had never seen. In the highest orbital platforms, human soldiers prepared to die for people they would never meet. The species that had once dreamed of peaceful contact with alien civilizations now dreamed only of victory and survival. The aliens had wanted to see what humans would become when faced with extinction. They were about to find out. The sensors picked up the alien fleet when it was still 3 days out from Earth. 47 massive warships moving in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming like black metal against the stars. Admiral Rick Carter stood in the command center of Luna Station, watching the approaching doom on his screens. "They're bigger than the ships that hit Europa," reported Lieutenant Sarah Kim, his communications officer. "Some of these vessels are twice the size of anything we've seen before." Admiral Carter nodded grimly. The aliens had brought their main battle fleet this time. No more scouting forces or small raiding parties. They had come to finish what they started at Europa, the complete extinction of humanity. "Send the signal to all ships," Carter ordered. "Operation Final Stand is now active." Across the solar system, human warships began moving into position. They had spent 18 months preparing for this moment, building weapons and training crews. Now they would discover if it had been enough. Captain Lavra White commanded the UES Retribution, one of the new heavy cruisers built in Earth's orbital shipyards. Her ship carried the most advanced weapons humanity could build, reverse-engineered from alien technology and improved with human engineering. Still, she knew it would not be enough. "Crew, this is your captain speaking," she announced over the ship's intercom. "The alien fleet has arrived. In a few hours, we'll be fighting for the survival of our species. Remember what they did at Europa. Remember the children they murdered. Today we make them pay." Her crew was young, most of them barely out of training. They had never seen real combat, but they had grown up knowing this day would come. Every one of them understood what failure meant. Not just their own deaths, but the death of everyone they had ever loved. The alien fleet reached the outer edge of the solar system and began spreading out. Their formation was perfect, their movements coordinated like a deadly dance. They had done this before, conquered other worlds, exterminated other species. Humanity was just another target to be eliminated. Then the asteroid belt came alive. Hidden weapon platforms that had been disguised as asteroids opened fire simultaneously. Hundreds of plasma cannons and missile launchers revealed themselves, turning the belt into a maze of deadly crossfire. The aliens had expected to find a defenseless system. Instead, they flew into humanity's first trap, direct hit on the lead ship. Reported Captain Turner from the UE's Vengeance. "Their shields are down 30%. But the aliens adapted quickly. Their return fire was devastating. Weapon platforms that had taken months to build were destroyed in seconds. The trap had worked, but only for a moment. The alien fleet was too powerful, their technology too advanced. "All ships, this is Admiral Carter," came the voice over the radio. "Execute Broken Arrow Protocol." "Repeat, Broken Arrow Protocol is now active." Captain White knew what that meant. Any ship that was too damaged to fight effectively should ram the nearest alien vessel. It was a desperate tactic, trading human lives for the chance to cripple the enemy. But desperate times called for desperate measures. The battle raged through the asteroid belt and into the space between Mars and Earth. Human ships fought with a fury the aliens had never encountered. When their weapons failed, they rammed. When their hulls were breached, they kept fighting. When their crews were dying, they made their deaths count. Fighter pilot Jack Thompson led a squadron of converted mining ships against an alien battlecruiser. His tiny craft was no match for the massive warship, but he wasn't trying to survive. He was trying to deliver a nuclear warhead to the enemy's engine bay. "Stay close, people," he radioed to his squadron. "We only get one chance at this." The Kundu alien ship's defensive fire was like flying through a storm of lightning. Half of Jack's squadron was destroyed in the first 30 seconds. The survivors kept coming, weaving between energy beams and missile explosions. They were miners and cargo pilots, not trained fighters, but they knew how to be stubborn. Jack's ship took a direct hit that destroyed his left engine. His control systems were failing, and his cockpit was filling with smoke. But he was close. Now so close he could see the alien ship's hull plating. He triggered his warhead and dove straight for the engine bay. The explosion lit up space like a small sun. When the light faded, the alien battlecruiser was drifting dead in space, its engines destroyed. Jack Thompson and his squadron were gone, but they had crippled a ship 20 times their size. The lunar bases came under attack next. Alien landing craft descended on Armstrong Base and the other human outposts, carrying soldiers in powered armor. The aliens were tall, thin creatures with 4 arms and metallic skin. Their weapons were as advanced as their ships, energy rifles that could punch through human armor like paper. Colonel Steve Adams commanded the defense of Armstrong Base. He had been a peacekeeping officer before the war, trained to arrest criminals and keep order. Now he found himself in hand-to-hand combat with alien soldiers, fighting for every corridor and room in the base. "Fall back to Checkpoint 7, he ordered his troops. "Make them pay for every meter." Sergeant Nina Foster's squad held the line at the main airlock for 72 hours. The aliens kept coming, wave after wave of soldiers trying to break through. Nina's people were exhausted, running low on ammunition, but they refused to give up. "Remember the children at Europa," she told her soldiers during a brief pause in the fighting. "Remember what these things did to innocent people. They showed no mercy then. We show no mercy now." The battle for the lunar bases was brutal. Human soldiers fought with knives and bare hands when their ammunition ran out. They rigged explosives in their own positions, detonating them when the aliens overran their defenses. They turned every room into a death trap, every corridor into a killing ground. Back in space, the main battle continued. The UES Retribution was burning, its hull cracked open by alien weapons, but Captain White refused to abandon ship. Half her crew was dead, and the other half was wounded, but her guns were still firing. "Captain, we need to evacuate," her first officer reported. "The reactor is overloading." "Negative," White replied. "Set a collision course for that alien dreadnought. We're going to ram." The Retribution's engines roared to life one last time. The dying ship accelerated toward the largest alien vessel, its crew singing as they flew to their deaths. The collision was tremendous, 2 massive ships destroying each other in a ball of fire and twisted metal. The battle lasted for 6 days. When it finally ended, 31 alien ships had been destroyed or crippled. The remainder of their fleet was limping away from Earth, their formation broken, their confidence shattered. But the cost had been terrible. Earth's defense fleet was almost completely destroyed. The lunar bases were in ruins. Hundreds of thousands of humans had died in the fighting. The survivors drifted among the wreckage, exhausted and bloodied, barely believing they had won. Admiral Carter's voice came over the emergency frequencies, weak but determined. "All ships, all stations, this is Earth Command. The alien fleet is retreating. Repeat, the enemy is in full retreat. We have won the first battle." But even as humans celebrated their impossible victory, intelligence teams were analyzing captured alien technology. What they found was terrifying. The attacking fleet had been large and powerful, but it was only a fraction of the alien military. Computer records showed star charts with 17 different solar systems under alien control. Dr. Amanda Clark, one of the few survivors from Europa, studied the alien data with growing horror. This wasn't their main fleet, she reported to the Emergency Council. This was still just a scouting force. A large one, but still just scouts. The truth was devastating. Humanity had fought with everything they had, sacrificed hundreds of thousands of lives, and barely defeated what the aliens considered a minor expedition. Somewhere out there, the real alien fleet was gathering. Thousands of ships, millions of soldiers, all preparing to finish what they had started. President Williams, who had taken office after President Rodriguez died in the lunar bombardment, addressed the survivors. "We have proven that humans can fight. We have shown that we will not go quietly into extinction." But this was only the beginning. The real war is still coming. Earth had won its first victory, but at a cost that nearly broke the human spirit. The blue planet was scarred, its defenses shattered, its people mourning their dead. Yet in the depths of despair, something new was being born. The humans who had survived the Battle of Sol were no longer the same species that had sent peaceful messages to Europa. They had become something harder, something more dangerous. They had learned that the universe was hostile, that survival required strength, and that mercy was a luxury they could not afford. In the ruins of the lunar bases, human engineers were already studying alien weapons. In the depths of space, human salvage crews were recovering alien technology. In the factories of Earth, workers were preparing to build a new kind of fleet. The aliens had wanted to exterminate humanity. Instead, they had created something far more dangerous. They had created a species with nothing left to lose and everything to fight for. 3 months after the Battle of Sol, Earth looked like a different planet. The skies were filled with construction drones, building new orbital shipyards. The oceans teemed with floating factories producing hull plating and weapon systems. Every piece of captured alien technology had been studied, copied, and improved. President Williams stood in the ruins of what had once been Geneva, addressing the survivors of humanity through emergency broadcasts. Behind him, workers cleared rubble, while engineers installed new defensive systems. The old world was gone. What remained was a fortress preparing for the final war. "We know the truth now," Williams said, his voice carrying to every corner of Earth. "The aliens we defeated were scouts. Their real fleet has over 500 ships. They control 17 star systems, and they will not stop until every human is dead." The gathered survivors listened in silence. These were the people who had lived through the first alien attack, who had watched their cities burn and their families die. They knew what was coming. "But we also know something they don't," Williams continued. "We know that humans don't just fight to survive. We fight to win. And when we win, we make sure our enemies can never threaten us again." Dr. Scott Martinez had been working in his laboratory for 18 months without rest. Before the war, he had been studying theoretical physics at MIT. Now he led humanity's most important project, faster-than-light travel. The captured alien ships had shown them it was possible. but building human versions required solving problems that had never been attempted before. "The power requirements are enormous," he explained to the Emergency Council. "We need fusion reactors 3 times larger than anything we've ever built. The containment fields alone require materials we're only just learning to produce." General Lisa Park leaned forward. "How long until we have working ships?" 6 months for the first prototype. A year before we can build them in numbers. "The aliens won't wait that long," Admiral Carter pointed out. "Our intelligence suggests their main fleet will arrive within 8 months. Dr. Martinez nodded grimly. "Then we'd better work faster." The solution came from an unexpected source. Emma Davis, now 21 and a senior engineer, suggested using alien power cores directly instead of trying to replicate them. It was dangerous. Potentially catastrophic if the alien technology failed, but it would cut development time in half. "We're talking about building ships powered by technology we don't fully understand," warned Dr. Nicole Hayes. "If those power cores malfunction, they could destroy entire star systems." "Good," said Fleet Admiral Carol Johnson, the new commander of Earth Space Forces. "If we're going to die, let's take as many of them with us as possible." That was the new human philosophy: victory at any cost. Survival by any means necessary. The species that had once sent peaceful messages to the stars now planned genocide against their enemies. The first prototype faster-than-light ship was ready in 4 months. Captain Bill Hayes, Nicole's younger brother, volunteered to test the untested technology. The used Valkyrie was ugly, built from salvaged alien components and human engineering, but it could travel between star systems. "If this works, we're no longer trapped in our solar system," Hayes reported during the test flight. "If it doesn't work, you'll need to scrape me off an asteroid somewhere." The test was successful. The Valkyrie disappeared from Earth sensors and reappeared 3 days later near Jupiter. Humanity now had the ability to take the war to the aliens. Production began immediately. Every shipyard in the solar system started building faster-than-light warships. They were crude compared to alien vessels, but they carried something the aliens had never faced: the fury of a species fighting for its very existence. The plan was simple and brutal. Find alien worlds and destroy them before the main fleet could reach Earth. No negotiations, no mercy, no prisoners. The aliens had chosen to make this a war of extinction. Humanity would finish what they started. Captain Lavrel White had survived the Battle of Seoul, though her ship had not. Now she commanded the UES Retribution 2, leading the first wave of human ships beyond the solar system. Her mission was reconnaissance and destruction. Find alien colonies and eliminate them. "Remember what they did at Europa," she told her crew as they prepared for humanity's first interstellar attack. "Remember the children they murdered. We're not explorers anymore. We're exterminators." The first alien colony was discovered orbiting a red star 12 light-years from Earth. Long-range scans showed cities, industrial complexes, and millions of alien civilians. The colony had no military defenses, no weapons capable of threatening human ships. "This is it," White announced to her fleet. "This is where we show them what happens when you try to exterminate humanity." The attack was swift and merciless. Human plasma cannons, reverse-engineered from alien technology, burned alien cities to ash. Orbital bombardment platforms, built from captured alien equipment, sterilized the planet's surface. Within 6 hours, every alien on the planet was dead. The second colony fell a week later, then the third. Human fleets, commanded by officers like Captain Turner and Admiral Johnson, struck across alien space like a plague. They hit military bases, civilian worlds, and industrial centers. No target was too small, no alien life too innocent. Back on Earth, children who had been born during the war were now young adults. Casey Brown, now 19, served aboard the UE Vengeance as a weapons officer. She had never known peace, never experienced a world without war. To her generation, the systematic destruction of alien civilizations was simply justice. "Why don't we try to make peace with some of them?" asked a younger crew member during a brief rest between attacks. Casey looked at him with the cold eyes of someone who had grown up expecting death from the stars. "Because they chose to make this about survival. Either they all die, or we all die. There's no middle ground in an extinction war." The alien response was swift but predictable. Their main fleet, 500 massive warships, accelerated toward Earth, but they were too late. Human forces had already destroyed 8 of their 17 colonies, crippling their industrial capacity and killing millions of their people. The aliens sent desperate messages toward Earth, trying to negotiate or surrender. The messages were received and recorded, then deleted without being translated. Humanity was no longer interested in what their enemies had to say. Dr. Martinez worked around the clock to improve human faster-than-light technology. Each new breakthrough made human ships faster, more efficient, more deadly. Within a year, humanity was building ships that could cross the galaxy in weeks, instead of months. The war spread beyond the original alien territory. Human scouts discovered that the aliens had conquered other species, exterminated entire civilizations over the centuries. The galaxy was full of dead worlds, empty systems where intelligent life had once flourished. "They're not just our enemies," President Williams announced to Earth. "They're the enemies of all intelligent life. We're not just fighting for human survival. We're fighting to rid the universe of a plague." Military doctrine evolved to match humanity's new understanding. The goal was no longer victory or even survival. The goal was complete extermination of the alien species and any civilization that supported them. Humanity would become the guardians of the galaxy, ensuring that genocidal aliens could never threaten another species again. Young officers like Emma Davis, now commanding her own ship, led fleets across thousands of light years. They carried new weapons, new technologies, and new orders. Find every alien world and sterilize it. Leave nothing alive that could threaten peaceful civilizations in the future. The transformation was complete. Humanity had evolved from peaceful explorers into efficient killers. The species that had once dreamed of friendship among the stars now enforced order through superior firepower. They had become something the galaxy had never seen before, a race dedicated to protecting other races by eliminating threats permanently. As human fleets spread across the galaxy, children on Earth looked up at stars that now belonged to humanity. They knew that somewhere out there, human ships were making the universe safe for intelligent life. The aliens who had started this war with the massacre at Europa were learning the hardest lesson in the galaxy. Some species fight back, and when humans fight back, they don't stop until the threat is gone forever. The age of human exploration was over. The age of human protection had begun.